The microcosms reap the consequences of their original activities. Is this ordained by the Supreme Entity? Yes, it is. Although he does not inflict punishment on anyone directly, he has only ordained that every action will contain the seed of action. He has given the freedom to develop microcosms, to decide whether to act or remain inert, or whether to perform virtuous deeds or sinful ones. The more microcosms advance along the path of pratisanshara, the more developed they become, and the more freedom they are granted to act independently. Of course, they can only enjoy as much freedom as the Supreme Authority chooses to give them. The amount of suffering caused by the reacting momenta depends upon how microcosms use or misuse this freedom. It serves no purpose whatsoever to blame the Supreme Entity for this suffering. After all, you have been given the freedom, the full liberty to perform the original deeds as you think fit. Since every action contains a seed of reaction, you will have to undergo the reactions of your actions. These seeds or reacting momenta are expressed through your non-original deeds, samskara mulaka, over which you have no control. A person is reborn in a physical structure and physical environment which are congenial for the expression of the unrequited samskaras. The cosmic mind directs the disembodied soul to that particular environment where it will get the maximum opportunity for the expression of its latent samskaras. That's why some people live miserable lives in squalid conditions and suffer from poor health, while others lead joyful, healthy, and worry-free lives in a comfortable environment. Yet no matter what circumstances one finds oneself in, one must realize and accept that no situation is without hope. For one's psychic expansion, one will have to keep one's mind fixed on the Supreme Entity. One will have to advance towards that absolute entity, while removing all obstacles from the path. One should not entertain any thought or illusion about the past. If one clings to worn-out objects and allows pitiful tears to flood one's life, one loses the rhythm of movement and gradually gets converted into inert matter. One should never allow the darkness of cowardice to engulf one's entitative existence. The microcosmic movement towards the supreme goal of life through endless fight against all sorts of formidable obstacles is true Dharma. Human beings need cosmic inspiration to motivate them to move forward. Their psychic development is not possible through intimidation or by creating circumstantial pressure. Those who are motivated to undergo missionary work only due to financial backing or royal patronage, or who are guided by scriptural sanction rather than logic or rationality, are not at all capable of leading the human race along the path of genuine progress. Is it possible to truly convert thousands of poor people into a certain religion by applying physical force or by spending large sums of money? Such so-called new converts no doubt give up their own religion, but they cannot imbibe the best aspects of the new religion because they have not accepted it through religious inspiration or spiritual inquisitiveness. In fact, such new religious converts often prove to be a liability to the religious society which converted them. The only way to bring about the real well-being of human beings is to arouse spiritual inspiration. One will have to create a thirst for spirituality and a fervent interest in sadhana. People must realize that Dharma is the essence of life, the breath of life. In the practice of spiritual cult, there is no distinction, nor can there ever be, between men and women. As Jivatma, the soul is not composed of the five fundamental factors. There cannot be any sex distinction in it. Naiva strina, pamanesha, na shaivayam, napumshaka. Yadya sharira maddatte tena sa rakshate. Jivatma is neither a male nor a female, nor a hermaphrodite. For the proper expression of one's latent samskaras, one gets reborn into the body of a woman or a man, or sometimes a hermaphrodite. There is no question of high or low, superior or inferior, noble or ignoble, because whatever might be the sex of the body, The Jivatma is just the witness of the mind it is attached to. It is unassailed by the sexual differences of the quinquelemental bodies, the unexpressed psychic reactions, samskaras of the disembodied soul, are guided by the cosmic mind and adjusted with a proper structure, at a proper time and a proper place, providing a congenial environment for the expression of the unrequited samskaras. Depending upon the nature of the samskaras, there is either the predominance of the tendency to attract samyojani shakti or the predominance of the tendency to be attracted vibhayani shakti. The nature of the force of attraction is to draw the object of enjoyment towards itself, and the nature of the force which is attracted is to move towards the object of enjoyment. Where there is dominance of samyojani shakti in one's latent samskaras, the disembodied soul attains a female body for its outward expression, and conversely, where there is a dominance of vibhajana shakti, it attains a male body. Where there is an approximate balance between the two, the disembodied soul attains the body of a hermaphrodite. Of course, even in the hermaphrodite, the balance between samyojani and vibhajani shaktis is not perfect. There is a slight tilt in favor of one or the other. That's why some hermaphrodites are more inclined towards masculinity, and some are more inclined towards femininity. In undeveloped creatures, there is a balance between the samyojani and vibhajani shaktis, and thus they are asexual. Being subjected to less internal struggle and more external struggle, these undeveloped creatures can divide their bodies into a number of parts, but developed creatures do not have this possibility. In order to increase their numbers, they are compelled to take the help of one another with the samyojani and vibhajani forces. Here there are sexual differences among all developed creatures, without which the preservation of their different species could never be maintained. Thus sexual differences exist to permit the proper expression of samskaras. However, these sexual differences have no absolute value whatsoever. So the characteristic of the human mind to attract or to be attracted depends on mental tendency. If there is a glandular change in the physical structure, there will be a corresponding change in the samyojani or vibhajani forces of the mind. Even if the mind thinks deeply about a person of the opposite sex, its own inherent samyojani or vibhajani shakti gets changed to some extent. If there is a major change in either of the forces, there will be a corresponding change in the physical body. As a result, males can be converted into females and females into males. You may have noticed in the practical world how men and women treat physical objects in different ways. This is due to the difference in the degree of expansion of samyojani and vibhajani shakti. Thus, the characteristics that determine sex, whether male, female, or hermaphroditic, are not fixed or final. On the basis of this concept, there should not be any discrimination between people. There is no sex difference in the Jivatman. In spiritual practice too, no artificial distinction between men and women should be encouraged. Only in those aspects of spiritual practice which depend upon the harmonious functioning of the body and mind, such as asanas and mudras, should glandular and psychological differences be taken into consideration. Samkalpana sparshana drishti mohair grasham bhuvrishta shatmavi vriddiyama karmanugana ganyanu kramena dehi staneshu rupanya bisham prapradyate. The initial force that causes sex differentiation and the assumption of various forms is called samkalpatmaka. The resolve to be manifested in the created universe is the noumenal cause of birth. When one's ideates on the pleasures of the world and clings to the objects of enjoyment, one is bound to assume a physical body in the next life. The samskaras born out of the determination to be reborn are termed bhava in scripture. The samskaras born out of the determination to be reborn. Immediately after samkalpa, indriya vritti occurs, the externalization of the result through the sense organs. The mind constantly runs towards the physical objects for enjoyment, with the help of the indriyas, in its endless attempt to get them within its reach. Human beings want to acquire all the name and fame the world has to offer. They become the most distinguished individuals. They want all the world's money to be deposited in their coffers. When they acquire certain objects, they strive to keep them well within their vision. Finally, due to the extreme influence of avidya maya, they become so blindly attracted to those pleasurable objects that they cannot bear to be physically separated from them even for a second. One's bhava, bundle of samskaras, gets strengthened due to development of one's resolve and the increased desire to touch, see, and cling to one's object of desire. This process has been going on for millions of lives. The cosmic mind provides a base for the microcosm in a particular form and place in the subsequent life, which gives the maximum scope for the expression of its own inherent samskaras. Thus, a microcosm can be born on any planet throughout the universe. It is said in the scriptures that the disembodied soul first accepts the paternal gene with the help of the cosmic mind, and then getting united with the maternal gene, produces an embryo for the proper expression of its latent samskaras. On the one hand, the embryo acquires psychic nourishment. On the other hand, its samskaras are expressed internally, until the mind acquires sufficient power to act according to its developed existential life feeling. It will have to undergo the torments of afflictions, bhava yantrana, internally as the doer of non-original actions. At that time it is not the doer, but as soon as the nerve cells acquire the capacity to work according to the developed eye feeling, it starts to perform original actions, pratyaya mulaka karma. Wise people say that the living being gets nourishment first in the father's body, then in the mother's womb, and finally on the earth after being born, usually after the age of 39. Of course, the period may vary slightly according to changes in time, space, and person. Its body begins to deteriorate. Stulani sukshmani bahuni shaiva rupani dihi swaguna irvi prinoti kriya guna iratma guna ishatesham samyoga hitura paropi drishtaha. One acquires a physical body according to the nature of one's samskaras. A human being who behaves like a goat or a dog may be born as a goat or a dog in the next life, because such an animal body is the proper base for the congenial expression of the latent samskaras. Hence, it is not at all impossible for a human being to be reborn as a hog, a worm, a tree, or even a piece of stone. One's destiny will be decided according to the nature of one's karma. This is an infallible law. In this regard, neither Paramatma nor Prakriti can do anything to help. But Parama Brahma, out of his infinite grace, will reconvert these ahalyas, those converted into stone, as a result of crude actions, into glorious human beings in the process of pratisanchara, and provide opportunities for their movement towards the most exalted life. To be more precise, it is the samskaras reactive momenta which are reborn. Philosophically speaking, it is not correct to say that the Atma unit consciousness is reborn, because Atman is neither body, intellect, nor mind. It is just a witnessing entity, the subject witnessing the metamorphosis of its objects, sometimes into another finite form, and sometimes into an infinite form. Atman is not subject to either pain or pleasure, because they are the psychic propensities of the mind. Of course, the desires and longings of the unit mind do affect the Atman to some extent, and it apparently seems as if the Atman is also involved in the vicious cycle of actions and reactions. When due to the grace of Parama Brahma, techniques of intuitional practice, sadhana are imparted to the unit mind through the medium of a guru, the way to emancipation from bondages is opened. and the unit mind begins to transcend all sorrows and miseries. By virtue of this sadhana, one can also free oneself from the vicious cycle of karma, resulting in the Atman getting immediate liberation from all mental bondages. Having relinquished the desire for finite objects in different places, in different forms, and in different ways, and having embraced the Supreme Original Entity, one attains the highest fulfillment. This attainment is achieved with the grace of Paramapurusha in the form of a Guru. Hence there is only one Guru. The Supreme Entity alone is the Universal Guru. Nityam Shuddham Nirabhasham Nirakaram Niranyanam Nitya Bodham Shidanandam Guru Brahma Namamyaham. I offer my salutations to Brahma in the form of the Guru, who is eternal, ever pure, without replica, formless, absolutely unblemished, and ever ensconced in the deep intuitional stance and cognitive bliss. Anadyanantam Kalilasya Madhye Vishvasya Srasta Ramane Karupam Vishvasya Ekam Parivishtaram Janatva Deva Muchate Sarva Pashaye. When one is ensconced in the exalted state due to the grace of Guru, what stage does one's intuition reach? What sort of realization does one attain? One discovers the divine play of the infinite entity in each and every finite manifestation. One realizes that the infinite entity, who is ever present in his vast cosmic stance, is also ever present in every molecule and atom. One experiences that the entire universe is vibrated and invigorated with his unending cosmic flow. Every entity of this universe, big or small, every minute expression of pain and pleasure of the numerous microcosms lies within his vast ocean of cosmic bliss. In this ever-playful universe, he is the supreme arbitrator. One realizes that the supreme cognitive faculty resides in his tumultuous microcosmic creation, and is thus the supreme desideratum of every finite entity. Sadhakas realize him as manifested in his many forms, and merge their individuality in him. Is there any place where he does not reside? He was residing in every place, long, long before you even knew it existed, filling its space with his cosmic bliss. Thus for the devotees, this entire universe is a blissful expression of the Supreme One. Behind this playful stance of the cosmic entity lies his eternal, immutable stance, which is a passive witness to the ever-changing forms of his macropsychic manifestation. When devotees see his immutable forms with genuine spiritual vision, they realize that they are already ensconced in his immutable stance. This is the state of supreme realization. In this state, the miseries caused by the binding fetters vanish, and the sadhakas become illuminated by the sweet touch of the playful, blissful, immutable Paramapurusha. This is the supreme spiritual fulfillment. Nityanandam Parama Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Vishvatitam Gagana Sadrishyam Tattvamasya Rilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Ashalam Sarvadesha Bhutam Pavititam Triguna Rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. I offer my salutations to the Sadguru, who is embodiment of absolute knowledge in the form of eternal bliss, who provides unending joy, whose periphery extends beyond the vast azure sky, beyond the last boundary of the universe, who is one without the second, one with the import, thou art that, who is ever permanent, ever steadfast, ever spotless, the witness of all beyond the scope of thought, and free from the influence of the triple principles. Although he is hard to attain, he is not unattainable. One whose existence is saturated with a flow of knowledge, action, and devotion can easily attain him. Bhavagrahiyam mani dakyam bhavakaram shivam kala sarka karam devam ye vidushte yahushtanum. You will never attain him through your erudition, intellect, valor, or vanity. You are to attain him through constant ideation, sweet devotional sentiment, and intense spiritual longing. You can only attain him in exchange of your entire individual existence. As a rule, one has to offer something to a person in exchange for an object. If you want to get rice, salt, oil, butter, and so on, you will have to pay money. Similarly, to attain him, you are to pay with your existential I. You are to surrender yourself completely unto him. Those sadhakas who have accepted the Supreme One as their only goal in life can never worship Prakriti, because they know that entity they long to attain in everything which exists and which is yet to exist. This vast flow of creation is the playful expression of that eternal entity. The 16 factors, Shora Shakala, of which microcosms are composed, this entire phenomenon of creation, are the finite expressions of the infinite supreme entity. Those who take shelter in that vast integral entity have no feelings of pettiness or individual imperfection. Such people are not born again after death. One who has known Brahma becomes Brahma. Yeye ujavate gila anavata baila soy. One who moves along the straight path of the Sushumna will not return again. Chaitra Purnima 1957 DMC, Natnagar, Bhagalpur.